press conference that has been called by COSATU and MAO. The conference has been called to discuss the events that have taken place over this weekend when police attacked workers who were leaving a MAO AGM at Curry's Fountain in Durban. The CEC, which also met this weekend, discussed the incident that happened in Durban, but discussed it not in isolation, but in the general context of what we view to be an attack being made on the working class in South Africa, and more particularly COSATU. It will be seen that the violence against our members that have led to a death of one person and to the severe injury to almost 25 others in Durban is not the only incident this year. There have been various other incidents in which our members have either died at the hands of vigilantes, have died at the hands of security police, or have died in what we consider a part of apartheid's attack on the working class through unsafe conditions in the factories, mines and factories and shops. The COSATU CEC, in discussing this issue, took a broad resolution that said that we will fully support any action that MAO intended to take, and I will call upon the MAO people present here, being Hilton Mashiko, who is the Vice President or the Vice Chairman of the MAO branch in the Transvaal, and Bennie Fanaroff, the MAO National Organizer, who will go through the joint press release. We will then answer any questions that arise from that. Thank you.
Taking very seriously the shooting of our members after our annual general meeting at Curry's Fountain in Durban on the 15th. As Jay said, it's not the first example of this kind of action against our members. Our union has been repeatedly attacked this year, as have other unions. And workers throughout South Africa today are mourning the death of Sponiso Mkunu, who was a relative of one of our MAO members. He was shot and killed by the police after our AGM on Saturday. During 1986, we've seen a long series of attacks on the working class. Hundreds of workers and their families have been shot in the townships. In April, after our rally at Katlehong, one of our members, Terrian Kortman, died from shotgun wounds. At Kinross, 177 workers died, apparently in a disaster caused by gross neglect of safety standards. At Jabula Foods in Springs, an explosion recently claimed the lives of 4 workers. High dust levels in the factory apparently led to the accident, in which the 4 were horrifically burnt to death. In May also, Joyce Modimweng, the wife of one of our MAO organizers, David Modimweng, was killed when a rivet bomb was thrown into their home in Okasi in Brits. Also in the past year, there have been numerous incidents of shootings and arson against senior trade union leadership. And now Sponiso Mkunu has been killed, and about 25 of our members have been injured after the police fired shotguns at our members after the AGM. MAO is therefore calling for a day of commemoration on the 1st of December. We've called on our members to hold commemoration services for at least 2 hours in the factories on the 1st of December. And COSATU has fully backed our call and the demands which we're making. The Federation's asked all the affiliates and the regions and locals to heed this call, and we have together called on all progressive organizations to support the call in whichever way is possible. We're demanding the right to hold meetings without harassment and without the fear of being shot, because we're required to democratically draw mandates from our members. We're also calling for the release of the more than 70 COSATU people still in detention. These people include our own General Secretary of MAU, Moses Mayakiso, the Vice Chairman of the COSATU Western Cape region, Noel Williams, and Amos Masondo, an official of GAU. We're calling for an immediate end to the state repression and the killings of our people. We're also calling on the employers to stop their rhetorical condemnations of apartheid and to start taking serious confrontation with the government on the issue of repression. COSATU will continue to strongly take up the demands of the workers who bear the brunt of oppression in this country and of exploitation. And we will continue to work for the transformation to a democratic society free of exploitation and oppression. We will continue to hold meetings, even mass meetings, at all levels of our structures in accordance with our democratic principles, and will not quietly tolerate unprovoked attacks on our membership. Thank you.
Any questions that journalists have here?
Yeah. The AGM ended at about 4:30. It was a very successful and well-disciplined meeting, attended by something close to 10,000 people at Curry's Fountain. As people were leaving the stadium at the end of the meeting and walking back to their buses, they passed by a police van. It appears that people were singing and generally in a good mood and rejoicing as they walked back to the buses. The police apparently took exception to this and started to fire tear gas. Now, as the workers were walking down, they were in a fairly confined space and it was very difficult for people to disperse. A lot of people ran to the buses, others ran back to the stadium. The police apparently fired tear gas into the stadium as well. But then the thing developed because it was not possible for people easily to disperse, and the police began using sjamboks and apparently then started shooting with shotguns as well. A number of people were injured. 6 were taken to hospital. Other people, in fact, were afraid to go to the ambulances for fear of being arrested, because one of our organizers was arrested at the time. Iso Mkunu was the only person who was actually killed. But we have had reports of one other person who is missing, one of our members from the Transvaal, and we're trying to locate him. Our members in Durban are discussing the question of the funeral with the family of the deceased. It took us a long time to actually identify.
In all other COSATU affiliates and regions and locals as well. Again, we have the problem that meetings that we hold, particularly memorial services, are usually banned by the regime. But we are at this point in time planning a memorial service here in Johannesburg. At this conference is that the attacks that we have seen on COSATU we view as an attempt by the regime to disrupt our democratic right to meet and to democratically acquire mandates from our membership. And the actions that we are taking are actions that are designed to show the state that we are not prepared to tolerate the situation. And the context in which we are commemorating December 1st is to mourn not only the death of Siboniso Mkunu in Durban, but all other deaths that have taken place over the past years. take more decisive action against the apartheid regime. Their position in the past and as of the present as well has been that they will work quietly behind the scenes. We believe that this is having no effect whatsoever on the apartheid regime and its repressive actions against not only the working class but the democratic movement in general.